Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for the most inconsistent podcast on the internet, the TND Podcast. I don't even remember when the last episode of this came out. And this is going to be a very special episode as we are seeing, or rather hearing, the return of my lovely wife, Dominique, on this podcast. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I need to move this microphone just a little bit close to you, I think. A little bit closer. Just
Okay.
Okay. That should be
good.
I think that's good.
All right.
I'm going to be watching the levels.
All right.
If they're going crazy.
I'll try not to shout.
So we're coming back with 20 songs, 20 love songs themed around Valentine's Day. I know it's been a while since you guys have heard from Dominique. Our relationship has kind of gone under the radar since the needle drop has blown up.
Yeah, well, according to you guys, we've been broken up for several years.
Yes, we've been broken up. We've been divorced. We've all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we broke up, and you turned into a
men's rights activist. There are quite a good few Reddit theories.
Yeah. Oh, I love them.
But we've just been relationship-wise just kind of under the radar because our privacy is important. But you know, my online show is about my opinions on music. It's not about my marriage. Although if you guys can pony up the YouTube revenue, maybe I can convince Dominique into.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
If you guys can guarantee $40,000 of YouTube revenue every month, we will vlog every day.
Okay, that might be pushing it.
Entire life
every day,
plastered all over the internet. And you know what's going to be funny is we're not even going to put any effort into it. It's literally going to be just us sitting around the house.
Yeah, well, you guys asked for it.
It's not going to be like. It's not going to be like other vlog channels on YouTube.
No.
Where they're like, hey, we're going to the mall today.
We won't be doing things.
Yeah, we won't be doing things. Like, hey, guys, vlog 153. We're trying to catch up on Love After Lockup. It's our favorite show right now. It's the worst thing on television.
Did you bring my dryer sheets?
Yeah, it's what's on the grocery list? What do you need? What can I cook you? What do you want to eat?
I don't know.
That's literally how she responds.
I just want the feeling of fullness.
So yeah, we're obviously still together because nobody else will have us. So there you go. So we've decided to return because one of our first videos together on the channel was in 2011. It was our 10 Valentine's Day songs. So we decided to double it for free, totally for free. We've doubled that number at no cost to you. And Dominique has made the suggestion that we do this, you know, but it's been a while since she's been in a video or on a video or having anything to do with the needle drop. You know, typically I over the years, even though we've made this agreement to kind of hang back and sort of keep things off camera, you know, I drop hints here and there like, hey, this band that you like, I'm going to review it. Maybe you want to say something, you know, but it typically ends up just kind of like falling to the wayside or on the back burner or whatever. But this time she made the suggestion and I said, okay, you know, would it be in a video? And she said, I don't know about that. And then I said, okay, well, what about a podcast then? So that's kind of been our compromise here. So now we're doing this podcast. We picked out 10 tracks. We're going to go over every single one of them, why we picked them. And I'm going to kick it off right now. Let's just get straight into it.
All right.
I'm going to kick it off with Kevin Abstract with the song Empty.
Sweaty palms as I walk down this empty road. I got a mom, but we ain't spoke. And I don't know, I had a heart, don't speak to me anymore. All right,
so that was Kevin Abstract. Why I picked that song, essentially, you know that over the past few months, or I guess the past year, I've become a big fan of this rap group named Brockhampton, and I've been talking about them, and I went to go see a show with them recently.
Oh, yes, I'm aware.
You're aware I'm the #1 Brockhampton super fan. But before Brockhampton, one of the members of the group, flagship member Kevin Abstract, had this solo record titled American Boyfriend. It's a bit of an autobiographical record where he's talking about being in love with this dude who's on the football team. This is the opening track to the whole thing. So it's kind of like this big, gigantic show of emotion, this big theme to kind of state his intentions and his emotions for this person. And, just like him reflecting on their relationship. And the reason I picked this track, even though I guess that scenario doesn't really apply to us directly, is I guess I just like the elements of young love and tension in the track. I kind of like the way that Kevin lyrically kind of plays with these themes of having to be home, needing to go back home, sort of being torn away from his significant other via his home life, whether that be because he can't be with this person all the time, or he has obligations, or whether it be because, there are elements of kind of dealing with his queerness on the album and coming out of the closet and sort of, bringing that to the attention of his parents and everything. Having to sort of come out of the closet and, sort of the acceptance of same-sex relationships sort of at the age that he's at and everything. Right. So there's like all sorts of life pressures, extraneous pressures sort of coming in on this relationship. And, to me, in some ways, it kind of reminded me of when we first started dating and just thinking how, we wanted to be together. We wanted to be at this place where we were just like inseparable and just together all the time and sort of dependent on one another. But there were all sorts of things preventing us at the time, very early in our relationship, from like taking those next steps.
Yeah, no, that's really true. And actually, as you were kind of providing more context to the song, I was just kind of thinking about exactly that, and kind of, when we first started dating, and, I dealt with some, family health problems that, it was a really big deal, and it was a really big deal for me. And so starting a relationship with just kind of everything else falling apart.
There were health problems and money problems and family problems. And then after all of that was out of the door, there were just the problems of trying to find a place to live, which like...
with a dog.
Yes, with a dog. Like we had some real horror stories like about some of the apartments that we looked at within our budget. Like there was one place that we looked at that honest to God, they had no heat. The heat was the oven. It was
the stove.
And keep in mind,
this is illegal.
Which is illegal now, but that's how like houses used to be set up like back in the day, like back before civil rights. Like I'm pretty sure that's how far back we're talking here.
I don't know. I think this was just some like bootleg apartment.
I remember we talked to our parents about it, and they said no, that's like how some apartments used to be. Like literally, the oven was an older oven, and there was a grate on the side of it. If you remember, like
that's right.
You don't just open up the stove and then turn it on. It's not like that.
It was a dual functionality.
Yeah, there was like almost like a heater on the side of the oven that would emit heat when you turned it on. And that was the only source of heat in the apartment in New England. So this is like the last place on earth where you would want such a thing to be your heat source. And, we saw other apartments that were like just like in horrible disrepair. There was like this one place that had super high ceilings. And I remember like the only cabinets, I think, in the kitchen, like were just like way above my head. They were clearly just installed. I
thought I dreamt that place. It was like something out of like Tim Burton. It was just like really bizarre proportions.
It was like a fun house.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're laughing about it now, but at the time we fought a lot about it, and it was like really miserable.
It was awful because you're trying to find some place where like, number one, like I had just started a job. Anthony was,
trying to get this off the ground.
Yeah, trying to get the needle drop off the ground. And so like we needed space, but we didn't have the money for the type of space that we needed. So then that meant we needed to be looking at older places, and the older places were scary, and
or they wouldn't take dogs,
or they wouldn't take dogs, but mostly it was because they were scary. We saw a lot of like a lot of scary houses.
Yeah, we did.
Like that one place that we saw where it was like half built. Like they were showing us like one like unit in the house. It was a house, and but the rest of the house was just dilapidated pretty much. So it was scary.
Yeah, we were having we were having a tough time, but that's I guess that's our little detour into I guess some of these songs are already bringing up some raw emotions.
I know.
So
I know.
Let's get into the next track, one that you picked. Because we're going to alternate back and forth between each of our picks throughout this podcast. You picked a Leanne LaHava song, "Say a Little Prayer," a live rendition of that track. Let's play a little bit of it, and then you can talk about why you picked this song for the episode.
Okay.
And ever, we never will part. Oh, how I love you. Together is how it must be to live.
So there's a little bit of that Leanne LaHava's track. Can you tell me why you picked that song for this episode? What about that song made you think about this podcast and us and everything?
Well, I guess a little history. I love Burt Bacharach. I love kind of like the kitschiness of his arrangements. And so I actually have always loved this song, especially the Dionne Warwick version, most famously. But I've heard probably every cover, and, try to actively listen to covers and interpretations of the song. There's a couple of other songs like that I love the song so much that I want to hear everybody's version of it. But what I love so much about the way that she covered this song is how she slowed it down and just, I think like it gave me an opportunity to kind of hear the song in a different way. I think maybe being older and being in a relationship now that's knocking on 10 years.
Oh God. Yeah, we started dating in like 2009. Yeah, we're pushing 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's for real life.
But
it's like to me, the song, her arrangement of the song, it's like love that kind of like envelops every part of your day, even when you're not thinking about it, right? Like when you're not focusing on, oh, it's Valentine's Day. I need to show this person that I love them. I wake up loving you and I go to bed loving you.
Oh, give me a kiss. But yeah, I hear you. This is it's like a quiet assurance. It's not quite as showy as like probably the original version or anything. It's a lot more stripped back to its sort of most bare essentials. Of everything, and it just kind of seems like the tone of the track just seems a lot like a conversation as opposed to like an event or something.
Right,
or something like
right.
meant for everybody else to see, when really you're just like trying to show it to one person. Exactly.
Yeah. There's an intimacy in this version that I think is really beautiful. And, it just made me think about, kind of like what you were saying earlier about how, in the beginning, like you're trying to like, everything will be great and awesome as soon as we move in together and we see each other all the time. And then that has its challenges too. And then it's like, oh my God, we see each other all the time.
At the beginning, there's definitely like a Beach Boys, wouldn't it be nice kind of idealism to it.
Exactly. And so
neither of us picked that song.
No, we did not.
We're too old for that song now.
Exactly. But exactly, we're too old for that song. And definitely I think, what I like about this song is because it is kind of like for me that next phase of just the, just being super secure in your relationship and in your love, and just, you know, just the feeling that even when things are bad, things are still pretty good.
It's funny. You've just like, the first song that I picked to me like referenced a very early part in our relationship, and this song that you've just picked sort of references a very sort of later part, or kind of a later sentiment. And I have songs that I picked that kind of feel that way to me too.
Yeah.
However, I feel like this next song that I picked also kind of brings things back to the start a little bit. To, a point in our relationship when I guess there was just like a lot of excitement, a lot of what ifs. And I'm talking like literally like the day we met.
Yeah.
And the way that this song sort of tangles with that is it's literally about sort of meeting someone who you've talked to online. So, which like back in the day when we met online, there were no songs about that.
Yeah.
So literally the world is catching up to us.
I know, that's right.
The world's catching up to us right now. So finally today, and I cover this stuff all the time. Like every year I at least hear a handful of songs that are like, whoa, this is like such an internet love song, because you literally have somebody referencing, I met this person online, you know, we're meeting in person. He or she is messaging me. And like back in the day, that was not the thing, you know, like it was not like as standard.
No,
or I guess
isn't
as popular as it is today.
And maybe I'm projecting, but I've always kind of interpreted Bjork's Hidden Places in that way. You know what I mean? And I know I'm probably 100% projecting, but that is kind of a technologic romance.
Well, I mean, if somebody was going to write such a song, it probably would be her.
Yeah.
Like a love song from the future or something. Right. Or like her, like Imogen Heap or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like probably one of those two, like would probably write a love song from the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's also from an artist that you're familiar with, Kieran J. Callanan. But this is from his new album, which sounds vastly different from the record that you're familiar with, which I came home from a tour in Australia with that album, and we both like loved it.
Yeah.
You know, when we heard it, we were just like, whoa, this guy's great. And I was just like upset with myself that I didn't review it the year it came out.
Yeah.
But his new record is just so vastly different stylistically and everything.
Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces. I have not listened to it in its entirety.
So to me, this is one of my favorite tracks on the record. One of the tracks that, like I said, hit me as being like, whoa, this is just like, you know, the feelings and the sort of situations that I had when we were first meeting. And I think you'll sort of catch that the sort of tone and the music and the lyrics of the track definitely speak to probably the tension that one is feeling when they're like, okay, you know, we've made this agreement that we're going to meet in person, but there's also kind of that weird feeling of just like, you know, it's odd, you know, it's weird because in a way you feel like you know this person a little bit because maybe you've been talking about things mutually for a little bit, and but then still there's kind of like that, oh, what if I am worse in person than I am like sort of on the internet or whatever.
That's funny that you say that, because I think for me, I think I kind of had like a completely different perspective on meeting someone in person, because for me it was just such a like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, granted, there are awful things that could happen, but I wasn't going there. But it was just kind of like, this could be fun or it might not be fun. And like, I guess like I kind of went into things with not having a ton of expectations, especially since you stood me up.
Oh, well, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. That was not standing you up. That was just a miscommunication of schedules.
It felt a lot like being stood up.
I told you I had work. I just forgot to tell you when I would get out of work. That's all.
Yeah, I was like in full face makeup and hair, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck this.
And then I called her when I got out of work at like maybe 11:30, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of work. I'm out.
And I'm like, good for you.
So, but still though, probably given that situation, there was like a bit of nervous excitement to the whole thing. Yeah. Which is in this track and is turned up to 11 to the point where it's just like insane. So this track is called Down to Hang.
All right.
There's a girl online, we've been speaking. Her love is an ocean away.
His lyrics are hilarious, and that's also James Chance of James Chance and the Contortions playing sax on that track. So it's like a little bit of like a no wave sort of throwback over there. I feel like I don't have much to say about the song now because I've already sort of spoiled my whole...
I know. You kind of jumped the shark.
I've already reversed it. I've already jumped the shark.
It is really funny to kind of like, as I was listening to it, I was like, oh, is that how boys feel? Because I was totally like, what evs? I hope he doesn't kill me.
No,
that would suck.
I think it definitely is. You know, there's definitely like a weird sort of like about to pop kind of excitement. Yeah. Especially when you've kind of like, I don't know, like already pre-gamed in a way by talking to the person so much, you know, and like had built up like expectations, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, whereas like if you just met somebody casually sort of like in outside setting somewhere where you expect people to meet, then it's like none of this is there. Right.
No. That's true. It's true. Yeah, no, but that's the lyrics are kind of amazing.
The lyrics are hilarious.
I have to revisit in its entirety.
And I guess you could, you know, talk about the he's talking about the hanging quite a bit, and he does get graphic with the noose, you know, talking about like noosing himself, but also it's like, you know, there's probably like a bit of a serial killer vibe there too.
A little bit. Yeah, actually a lot, but I think, but it is funny. It is kind of like, you know, like you said, just kind of like the buildup of expectations. And, you know, even for my part, even though I play it cool, you know, I was nervous too, but I guess more from a standpoint of, man, like we've been having such a good time, like chatting about like music and stuff. And if this sucks, like it's going to be really awkward.
All right, we're going to get into the next track that you picked. We're going to play a little bit of it, and then you can get into why you picked it. This is a short bit of Daime Erosina's Valentine. That's really good.
Yeah, right?
Is that the... I turned her onto this artist sort of in an inadvertent fashion because I had gotten a promo for one of her older CDs, and yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. I thought that she would like it more than me, so I just passed it to her because, you know, knowing what she enjoys, I was just like, hey, I think you'll probably enjoy this more than I am. And she's telling me that this came from a later record.
No, this came after.
Yeah, this came after.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I didn't. When I meant later, I meant like I didn't mean like older. But
yes. Yeah. No, yeah.
Oh, I gotta listen to that because that's really good.
You do. It's actually really, really good, and I love her voice.
Her voice is really good.
Her voice is literally like melted chocolate.
It's so good.
It is so like deep and earthy and sensual. She has an amazing voice. So, needless to say, after that promo, and there were some standout tracks on that.
Yeah, you know, I felt like with that promo, there was just like a weird kind of thing going on with the instrumentation and some of the vocal layering where it just felt like there was something kind of missing or something was being lost in translation. It was just a little overwrought, but this is so much more intimate, and it's like the instrumentation in the background, it's simple, but it just works, and it showcases her voice so much better, and it's so lovely. It's just so beautiful.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And I picked this because when I was listening through this album, because as soon as I got Apple Music, I had like this mental list of like all of these albums I wanted to like revisit or whatever, look into. And I remember the first time I heard this, it reminded me so much of the very first time you and I went on vacation together. And we had like a little road trip. We went to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we did.
And it was just like this really, like, first of all, I had to kind of fight tooth and nail to get Anthony to take a break to go on vacation.
I'm horrible at taking a break.
He does not ever take a break.
You get so it's funny that you're confirming that, because there are people who watch from the outside, then they're like, do you sleep? Do you
no, he doesn't. And yes, he has a whole family, a wife, like he's got stuff. And yes, that all happened simultaneous to his work schedule. So anyways, so this was like really the first time, like, we had this extended amount of time together where nobody was working. It was just really idyllic. And, I like specifically, this reminded me of the drive there. I think we were listening to Vampire Weekend. Like we were listening to the Vampire Weekend album.
I think I might've been really into that.
Yeah, you were really into it.
I was really into Contra.
But it was awesome. Yeah. And it was just
Are you saying that was the horrible thing about the trip?
No.
That I kept playing. He kept playing Vampire Weekend, but it was awesome anyway.
Despite that. No, actually, I I did actually really like that album. But no, what I'm saying is that it was just such an idyllic, like, trip. It was, like, super sunny and... a
lot of farmland and
it was just such
and we were going to roller coasters.
Exactly. So it was just, like new, fairly new love, and just kind of the carefreeness that you and I rarely get to indulge in because we're both crazy busy. So that the vibrance of the song, the energy.
And it's just really cute.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's really cute.
It's just... Yeah, it just made me think of our first really carefree moment.
Oh, but yeah, it's just like, it's everything that you want in like just kind of a sweet, lighthearted kind of love song. There's nothing like too complicated about the emotions or anything like that. It's just, I like you, 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 I really, really like you. That's just kind of the vibe of it, and it's just really pretty. It's really sweet, and you made me want to check out that follow-up album if a lot of it is kind of that vibe. Oh
my goodness, actually, just as a note, as I was like, because when I picked all my songs, I wanted to make sure that they were linkable, because some of the songs, like, they just came from my memory, and I have no idea if there's, an actual URL linking you to them. So when I was, just kind of going through my list and just checking again, she has a cover of Besame Mucho, which is just fantastic. Like, I don't think it's recorded. Like, I don't think she has a studio recording of that, but I highly, highly recommend anybody YouTube it. YouTube it. You will not be disappointed. It's beautiful.
All right, I'm going to get into the next track over here, who is another artist that you've been hearing me sort of play again and again and again throughout the year. Alex Cameron. The song is titled "Running Out of Luck." We're laughing because we've had many conversations about just how much of like a weird creepo Alex Cameron is when you just look simply at his lyrics. I don't know the man personally, but I've showed this record to Dominique a few times. It's been like, this is great, I love this, but these are the man's lyrics. This is what the man sings about. But I promise you, this is not one of his weird or creepier songs.
Okay, so
this is one of
not too heavy on the creeper wave.
Although I'm not going to say it's wholesome though. I'm not going to say it's wholesome.
That's all right.
But
I mean,
there's
you know me. I skirt the.
I got you. I know you. All right, we'll give it a listen. Listen to the lyrics, and
hopefully I'm not horrified.
And I swear you won't be horrified. There's kind of like it might seem a little weird at first, but I swear I have a nice explanation for why I sort of had some feelings about us and this particular track. All right, on 1 to 10, where does that rate on the creepo scale?
I actually love this track.
You love this track. I love it too. It's one of my favorite songs of last year. So, no, I mean, this to me was a track that reminded me of just everywhere we've been and everywhere we've gone to sort of get to this point. Because there's just like if you've been in a relationship that is pushing 10 years, you know, you do have your doubts and you do have your moments where you feel like you're out of love, or you feel like, you know, it's slipping, but then when you get back to that moment where you're like back in it, you know, it's like it feels like really good and it feels really great. But still, it's like you can't totally ignore the past, and you know that there's like, you know, those doubts in your head, and you have those sort
baggage
of outside of those outside factors.
You keep adding bags.
You know, you keep adding bags. You learn over time like what volatile personalities you are, and you know, like your triggers, and you know,
and you
like,
learn how to use them more effectively over time.
And it's like, you know, you are like, you know, either, you know, you in some ways you are like a stripper, or you are like a hothead who will like totally just punch somebody out, and which is like totally a danger to your relationship. And but, you know, still it's like at the end of the day, there's just like something that ends up working or functioning about it. And it's just like, you know, I like the feel of like being kind of renegades together in a way, you know, just like, you know, I just kind of like that story, that vibe of the track. But yeah, I love that song, and it just kind of reminded me of all that.
I think we're making our relationship sound very volatile. It's not, I swear.
Well, you know, you have your moments where it's you fight and it's tough emotionally, and you have your disagreements, and you know you're essentially unhappy in a way. But then once you get back to that point where you remember like why you're in it, you know, because really if it's working and you love each other, those tough and those rough moments are going to be temporary, and those flaws about you that are probably never going anywhere and never going to change, it's like you just kind of end up like seeing past them anyway. And you know, he makes reference on the track to, even though there are these doubts, and he says like, you know, the odds are stacked against us, but simultaneously like she's assuring him like, you know, we're going to be together, it's okay, you know. It's so that's kind of how things have kind of felt to me sometimes when they're rough, when they're volatile. It's like, you know, it's kind of like living on the edge in the way that these two people are. You know, there's kind of like I don't know, it's tough and it's upsetting, but simultaneously there's like a weird excitement too, sort of being brought to that point where it feels like it's going to be over. But then when you get back to that point where you do sort of love each other again, you know, and you're back in love,
you win.
kind of, you know, you win. It's like, exactly. You got the jackpot. We went to Vegas once, and we were all over this one slot machine that we won $300 out of.
We're the worst people to go to Vegas, by the way.
I think we actually won more money than that out of it, but then we just won a bunch of money out of it, but then we spent like maybe a half an hour to an hour out of that, losing more than half the money that we won out of it, I think. Just
pretty much. But, you know, we were also spending a great deal of the time just people watching, because that was much more interesting than gambling. So, you know, that we didn't really enjoy all of the things that Vegas has to offer, because we're much more interested in hanging out in the seedy, smoke-filled casino.
I had a hard time finding anything to eat. It was like the worst.
Yeah, that was really tough.
I remember we stepped into a single room that was a high stakes slot machine thing, and she put us like, we were just like, hey, let's.
I put $20 in.
Like, we were just like, hey, let's just try this, just to try it. Let's just like, you know, because we were on just like penny and dollar slots and stuff. Let's just go in here and try it.
Do it.
Like, she put it in there, and then all of a sudden, like, the machine literally did nothing, and they were just like, okay, I guess that's just telling you lost.
You lost. You're done. You're done here.
So yes, I did pick that track. I love that track. I'm glad you love that track. I swear to you, there's only a handful of moments on the album that are so creepy. You know, there's actually like a lot of great records on the on the album that are.
Well, I mean, you showed me most of the creepy ones,
because those are the ones I was most excited about. You know, I was like, hey, look at how creepy this song is. Let's get into your next track. You picked this Yes track. We're gonna play a little bit of it. It's titled Sweetness. And once we played a bit of it, we'll come back and Dominique will talk about her thoughts behind the track.
All right. So So this song is a bit of relationship nostalgia that I don't even think you remember. So early in our relationship, one of the things that we did a lot of was, we would kind of show each other things that we were like super passionate about. Like obviously Anthony was super passionate about music, so he, like when we would go out and just be hanging out, like, he'd be showing me like music. We'd have like a night where we were just listening to music, or we'd have a night where I was, bringing over like movies that I liked and whatever, and I'd kind of share like all my weird movie taste. my weirdest movies with him, and if he didn't get freaked out, then I could push it to the next level. And kind of the same thing was happening with music, and so it was just like this really fun time, like in the beginning of our relationship, where we were just sharing things that we liked. And the night that we filmed the Valentine's Day video, we had watched Buffalo 66. And the song is actually on the soundtrack. And so, and for those of you who have not seen it, it is, I guess, an unlikely love story between two misfits.
The odds are stacked against them more than they are in the Alex Cameron song.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a lot going on there. But yeah, so this song is really just kind of added. I mean, probably most people know Yes.
Yeah.
So this song is really just a bit of relationship nostalgia for just that time where we were just learning about each other and getting to know each other's interests and, kind of taking off, whatever mask that you have when you first meet somebody and you're like trying not to be too weird to scare them off. And then,
you're making me regret not putting that Future song on here, Mask Off. That would have been a great relationship song.
Hey.
There's still time. There's still time to pack it in. This next track is funny. I feel like it just like that song that you just picked. I feel like I'm picking this track because I know certain things about you and certain tastes and preferences and stuff. So I feel like that you would appreciate the sort of the theme and the concept of this song, which I think after it's over, because we're not going to play the entire track, I'll definitely have to explain some of it, because even to me at first, like what the song wasn't entirely apparent, because Neil's lyrics can be a difficult read or listen to sort of take everything in. By the way, this is from a band named Lemon Demon. The song is titled No-Eyed Girl. And Lemon Demon is a band fronted by or sort of masterminded by Neil Cicerega, who does all of those amazing mashups that you love. Yes, that I love, that I force upon to you. I'm like, honey, listen to this meme.
I love a little bit less. Little less.
I'm just like, I'm so excited about his mashups, and it's funny. It's the lack of enthusiasm that I get recommending them to my audience. I also get at home recommending them to my wife. And even to Austin as well. Like, he's just like, people don't get why you're into this, dude. They really don't. And it doesn't matter. I love it. However, this is an entirely different type of music project. I swear, no like Smash Mouth or Bare Naked Ladies samples are gonna pop up here. I swear.
This podcast would be over.
If it was a Smash Mouth sample.
If we have a Smash Mouth anything shows up on this list, we're done.
I can't even think of a good Smash Mouth love song. So, and I used to own at least one of their albums, but let's get into this track again. It's called No-Eyed Girl. Okay, so my thoughts behind picking this track, from what I've been able to gather, listening to the song again and again, and reading the lyrics online, he falls in love with an interdimensional being. And from what I see at the very end, you're already into the sci-fi element of it.
I already love this.
You're already into the sci-fi element of it. And toward the end of the track, I kind of get the feeling that he is obviously responsible for the transfer of either that being to this dimension or himself to that dimension, or kind of opening up something that would allow these beings to come into this world. And toward the end of the track, I kind of get the idea that him doing this, the result of that is that the world is just destroyed and that everything is just like, mankind is just totally dead. But he doesn't regret it because he gets sort of what he wants. He gets his relationship or whatever. So he'd do it again. He'd do it again anyway, even though it basically means the end of the world. So I figured you would appreciate the sci-fi element of that.
I do, very much.
Given your sci-fi kick. But yeah, that's essentially my reason behind picking that track. Obviously, with our situation, the stakes are not as high.
No.
Situation is not as dire.
You mean you wouldn't destroy the world for me?
To invite you in here, like possibly, I guess I would definitely like.
Yeah, you better.
I definitely
You better.
think about it. It's like we're not talking about like I wouldn't run out with a gun and like start like killing a bunch of people. Like, but if you were an interdimensional being, would I pull you into this dimension to destroy the whole world? I don't know. It kind of sounds just as psychotic as running out there with a gun. I kind of feel like you have to look at both of them the same way. It's just you're not exactly pulling a trigger. You're just opening a dimension. So I feel like both should be looked upon with just as much skepticism and like, that's kind of. So I'm not going to answer that right now, just so that there's not a whole lot of drama. I'll give you my answer, yes, off when we're off the podcast.
Okay.
I've already said it though. So this next track that we've picked, Sensitivity from Ralph Tresvant. We're going to play a little bit of that, and then we'll go into your logic behind picking this track for the list. I regret that we didn't do an entire podcast just based around this genre in this era of R&B and sort of like pop soul and stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Next Valentine's Day. Next time. I remember when we were kids, I missed that they used to have radio stations that would play that all day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
From morning till night.
I still live for that.
Such a unique time for music.
Yeah. And really weird at the end of that song, there's like a rap, which...
Of course.
Because all songs had to have a rap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really sensitive.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
It had to be like that, too.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
Definitely like a bit of an MC Hammer type flow.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, this is... Yeah. Yep. It was pretty much like that. I love this song.
Yeah. It's cute.
You have heard this song.
Yeah. It's smooth. It's fun.
I think like I was probably like one of the youngest in my family. And so like all of my cousins, everybody was super older than me. And like, like you were talking about radio stations that just play this type of music all the time. Like when this was new, this was all over the radio. So this song came out when I was 5. And I remember like I was the kid that like knew all of the songs on the radio and like all of the dances. So like I was the one that they would be like, oh, Dominique, do this dance. And I would just be like hamming it up. So anyways, so it has been ingrained in me that I need a man with sensitivity.
Got it.
Since a very
young age. Brainwashed.
But I pick this song for this particular list because, as you were saying before, you are, starting a new relationship, like you're coming into the relationship with like your own, like I said, everybody has like baggage and stuff that you bring into the relationship separately, and your expectations for what your relationship is going to be. And I think despite having a man with sensitivity being ingrained in me, I think like I felt like, I don't know, I just wanted to not have those types of expectations for our relationship and just see where things went. What I was trying to say is that, you are all of those things without being a very smooth talking person. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say.
Thanks for outing me as not being very smooth.
I'm sorry.
I think I'm smooth. I talk smooth all the time on the internet.
You do talk smooth. But what I'm saying is, like, you're not like a flashy person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not, there's not like...
being like the sensitive guy, that's also kind of like being like the nice guy. You know, it's like, hey, why won't girls date me? I'm a nice guy.
Nice guys
I'm really
are terrifying. Anybody who comes up to you, you've heard me say this before. Anybody who comes up to you...
This is to all the women out there.
Advice
Direct from my wife.
Talking about, I'm a nice guy. Like, aren't I really nice? Nice guys finish last. No, crazy people finish last because everybody knows that they're fucking crazy.
I've never told my wife I'm nice.
No, he didn't.
I've never told her I'm nice.
So
Even to this day,
I just expect a certain amount of asshole in everybody. And, you just... like, whatever your ratio is, you're just taking a ratio.
And if you're saying you're really nice from the get-go, chances are the asshole ratio
is pretty high.
You're overcompensating.
It's probably really high.
I don't know why I thought of this just now, but I saw this really funny internet post that I have to tell you about right now, even though it's not appropriate for the podcast. But I saw this really funny internet post that I think this girl posted, where she said, guys with big feet have big penises, and guys with big cars have small penises. No wonder people are afraid of clowns. I don't know why I had to tell you that just now, but hopefully everybody else got a laugh out of it too. We're going to move on to the next track.
Yes, please. Please.
This track is from an artist who came out with one of my favorite albums of the past few years. Her name is Angel Olson. I don't know how much of her music I've played you, if any, really.
I don't think so.
I don't think I played you anything off of her last record. And really everything she's put up until that point for me was like, hey, I like this, but I'm like really waiting for that moment where you make that killer record. And I think a lot of people were too. And this album of hers that she came out with a little while back called My Woman is easily her biggest album, easily her most critically acclaimed album. And I'm glad that she kind of got that chance that I think a few artists do these days in the music industry to really just like kind of come out with a record that is only somewhat successful, because it feels like sometimes people just kind of get chewed up and spit out of the industry too often. And I'm glad that she was able to stick around and kept at it, because the end result is just a great record with fantastic songs on it like this. This track is titled Shut Up, Kiss Me. So that's a song I picked. To me, that track is, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of wishful thinking. I mean, it totally just like comes out of this feeling that I know I've had numerous times before, if we're like in the middle of a fight or in the middle of an argument, when it's just like, I don't know, why are we still arguing? I feel like we could just be getting along instead. Just like, shut up and kiss me instead. Like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And I guess, again, this is like probably why it's more wishful thinking, because there's elements of the song where she's like, we could rewind just all the bad things that happened and just sort of like throw it under the rug and toss it away and just like get back to loving each other, and maybe that's like not reality or anything, but like still that's like what you want to happen. It's like you'd rather just like, oh, can't we just like hit the reset button on this, or just be like, okay, like I'm sorry, like can this just be over now or something?
And I think like especially I think in our situation where we actually don't have like a lot of fights, like we don't fight frequently, but when we do, it's epic.
It's epic because we don't practice that often.
No, we don't practice. There's not a lot of reason to, but when we do, and we've definitely had our moments when I've just been like, okay, I've said sorry. I've acknowledged what's happened. Like can we just like be over and done with this? And I remember there have been a few times where it's just been like, no, we can't be done. No.
Because I'm still mad or you're still mad. And so it's like it has to continue.
Yeah.
But there's always that moment where one person is probably thinking at some point when, I just wish we could just like get back to how it was just like 30 minutes before
gone too far.
all this started. Let's get into this next track. Birdie.
Oh, perfect.
Blue Dress.
Perfect.
Tell me about this track after we play a little bit of it. One last thing I wanted to ask you about, what did you think of her voice? I like her voice a lot.
I really
just
like
how
that vocal distortion. That's really, it works really well with kind of the pace of the song, the pacing.
Yeah. I like how she doesn't sing like that all the time, but when Angel does, I love how like weirdly traumatized she sounds when she's singing that way. Like I can't quite describe it, but all I can say is that it sounds traumatic.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's singing in that
That is
timbre,
raw emotion. I like it.
But yeah, I love her singing on that track.
I love being brought to the brink.
Let's play this Birdie track, and then we'll get into why you picked this one.
Okay.
Then I found my golden earring.
Okay. So I think this song is like a really good contrast
To the last song.
to the last song. And I really like this song. This is like, this is kind of like an album where I didn't really like the album as a whole, but this one track has always stuck with me. I think it's so... I think the imagery that the song invokes is really interesting. I think this sense of, having this thing that you lost and then just suddenly you find it and like things click, like, oh, this is how it should be. And so I think the song is actually a good contrast because like I was kind of, the reason why I included this is because I was kind of thinking about, that feeling after, things get really bad. You've had a really bad fight. And, there's like that period of like cooling off and, just kind of like, there's a wholeness in your relationship that, feels like really asymmetrical when, you know what I mean? When things aren't working. And, that's why I picked this song.
Okay.
I'm not a person who talks about things that she likes often, so bear with me.
I like the sensual kind of mellow vibe of the track, and her voice is really sweet throughout the song, and it's kind of hypnotic. The way that it sort of plays on, the drony keyboards in the background almost have like and there's kind of like a skeletal, almost Velvet Underground-y kind of feel to it.
For sure.
This next track comes from a more visceral place. I'll say that much. I'll just kind of like spoil the whole theme and idea of it right from the get-go because it's pretty straight and to the point. It comes from a band named Swain, who used to go by the name of what was their older name? was it This Routine is Hell? I'm pretty sure it was This Routine is Hell. And they changed their name because they kind of like came together with a different sound. I mean, I love that album that they put out under their last name, but they started doing like a bit of a 90s kind of alternative rock, almost like a grungy, punky kind of thing, which was not the hardcore sound that they originally came up with.
Yeah.
And this song is pretty much just like, I don't know, I guess in a way, just like a fuck song. It's just like, just all about just like getting completely lost in another person's physical being. But I'll say it's not very sexy sounding. You know, it's just a very visceral rock song about, I guess, just being lost in someone else. Physically.
One could argue that sex is not that sexy.
All right, we'll play a little bit of it. So there we go. That's that. It's just pretty much about getting lost in another person physically.
Yeah.
That's just the gist of it, or the jizz of it, however you want to say it.
Okay.
I mean, I guess, you know, they put it a little bit more romantically, I guess, than I just did. I'm a terrible person.
Awkward.
How is this awkward? We're just like, I've made way worse jokes in front of you. I just told a joke about how clowns have big dicks a few minutes ago. It's not even awkward. It's not an awkward situation. Just microphones are on now. That's all. That's the only difference.
That's all.
So this next track that you picked is a Yeah Yeah Yeahs track. It's titled Our Time. Is this from this EP? Did it come out before the album? It's people to tell. So this is like early.
This is early.
Early.
When they were really raw and New York sounding.
Yeah, really raw and New York sounding. All those good,
in the olden days.
all those good New York indie bands in the early 2000s that were good for a very limited amount of time.
I still like the Yeah.
I still like a lot of the early stuff. I still like the early stuff too. But hey, you know, I'm not saying the Yeah Yeahs are alone in that. You know, it didn't take long for the Strokes to take a nosedive. You know, so it's you know, I'm not saying they're alone in that. They're certainly not. Very little of the indie set from back in those days is still around now, and if it is, it's putting out a disco record. So we'll so let's take a trip back to our younger days with this Yeah Yeah Yeahs track, Our Time. That was a nice reminder of why I used to like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, or why I loved them initially.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a sweet and cute song. So I'm so happy you picked it.
It is.
But it also, you know, just brought me back to God. Just like, you remember how, like, I'm just trying to think of the context, because like, what the hell was it in response to? Like, why the hell did this stuff get popular? Because you're talking about like grunge happened, and then the whole like, I guess it went mainstream and Kurt died, and then you had post-grunge, and you had like all of these like awful sort of like fake grunge bands that were just like total shit, and just like nu metal happened. And it's like, what do you do after that? So it's like you had a lot of these bands, and they were just like totally taking it back to basics. They were playing blues stuff. You only had one drummer and one guitarist, and one of them was probably singing. And like around this time, it's like you had Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Black Keys and the Kills and the White Stripes and the Ravenettes, and it's like being a duo was like the thing. It's like having four members was just too much. You know, it's like couldn't be more than three. In some cases, like you just had to be really stripped back, and if there was a third person, they had to be doing something stupid like tambourine. You know, they couldn't be adding too much extra sound. You know, and it's funny because like a lot of those groups, they ended up just like totally faltering the moment that they were like, all right, let's try to add more stuff now.
Yeah.
And like once they did that, then they did too much. And
Too
then
much.
sort of lost the narrative. But yeah, that was a nice reminder after having covered, I think, the last couple of Yeah's records, and it was just like, I don't know so much about this.
Yeah, that EP is so good. It's still so good.
It's still really good. It's still really good. There's probably like some, I mean, we're technically millennials too, but there are probably some people listening, like maybe 10 years or so younger than us, who are trying this track out and they're like, what the hell is the big deal? I don't hear it. Some squawky lady just like going crazy over a blues guitar, and I don't get it. But again, it reminded me of why she was such a fun and interesting vocalist at the time.
Yeah.
This next track that I've picked is a lot more smooth and mellow. It comes from the King of Normcore, the Canadian chain smoker. That's one of his nicknames, I'm pretty sure. Mac DeMarco. This is one of my favorite songs of his. It's called My Kind of Woman. And let's just get into it, because I think the sentiment of the song is pretty obvious right from the get-go. So yeah, there's that Mac DeMarco song that I picked that I like quite a bit. Have I played you that song before? I must have played you that song before.
Yeah.
I just love the sentiment of that track, but I think the thing I love most about that song is honestly just the way it sounds. There's just something so woozy and like kind of drunk about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just love how the guitar sounds on the track. Just kind of has like a high pitch kind of pling, sort of quality to it that I don't hear in a lot of other songs. Like Mac DeMarco, even though his music is very smooth, he strikes me as an artist who really kind of pays close attention to the way certain things sound a lot of the time. And this is definitely one of those tracks where it seemed like everything had a very particular kind of timbre to it.
Purposeful.
And the result is that, it just kind of feels like being in love. It does feel like, there's kind of like a drunken quality to kind of being infatuated with somebody that I feel like that song embodies really well. So we'll move on to the next track. You picked a Shoo Shoo song. One of your favorite bands.
I did. And, it was funny when I was going back and I was looking at our, I think it was the video that you did, I think 2014, where you did a video with the Valentine's Day playlist that you made for me for Valentine's Day. And I remember seeing someone in the comments saying something like, I wonder if she was creeped out by the Shoo Shoo track. And I was just like, no, I was not. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Yeah, I mean, when I started college, I think I listened to post-punk and I listened to like any and all like experimental rock, and like the louder the better. And Shoo Shoo was like, for me, just such a standout band just because of their well, I mean, Jamie's voice obviously is
he's
unique.
He's like if Hank Hill being shocked constantly, but come back from the dead, he's like a ghost. He's like the ghost of constantly shocked Hank Hill. No, I love Jamie's voice. You guys have seen enough positive Shoo Shoo reviews to know.
Well, that actually makes me think of when I was in college and I had these roommates that were, I guess they were Mean Girls. It was before the Mean Girls movie, but that's what they were. And so I was really into Shoo Shoo at that time. And I remember coming in from class and they were clearly having a conversation about me. And I just remember one of the girls saying something to the note of, God, she plays that crying guy all the time.
Yeah. That crying guy. The crying guy.
That crying guy.
Hopefully Jamie's listening, or somebody's telling him to listen to it and telling him.
Love Shoo Shoo.
And telling him, hey, someone on this podcast, they said you sound like the crying guy. So you picked this track, Ceremony.
Yeah, so this is a Joy Division cover.
Yeah. So we'll play this cover, and we'll get into your reasoning for picking this particular track.
Okay.
I like the glitchy synths in that rendition.
Yeah, I like this version. They've done, I think one other version of this cover, and I like this version the best.
At what Shushu era did this cover get recorded?
Oh,
was this around the time that he was like messing around with the Game Boy chiptune stuff, or is this like
I think so.
Further before that?
No, I think so. I think because, like I said, there's an earlier version of this cover, but I don't know.
And there's something about
I didn't do the research.
It's fine. There's something about the tone of his voice and just kind of like the chaos of the instrumentation that kind of reminds me of like super early like Bright Eyes stuff. Like there's almost
bit.
like
Yeah,
I feel like this Joy Division song, if played the right way, could just be an emo song. Like not that I think he's playing an emo song, but like I feel like he's almost taking it there. Like we're a step or two away from it. Just being an emo song.
Kind of. I didn't think of it like that, but yeah, totally. Well, I knew I wanted to put Ceremony on this list. I mean, it's a tragic love story, right? But I guess like I don't take the lyrics super literally, and I've always loved the feeling derived from that song, because it's like, to me, it's always been kind of like, as much as it is about a beginning, it's also about an ending, which, I mean, that is the human story, right? So I love that, and I love that in the context of like a relationship, because there'll come a time when we're very old people, and and all of this time that we're spending together in real time will be memories, and it'll be just this flash of electricity, you know what I mean? And anyways, so I like this song because it feels like that. It feels like an entire life in a second for me.
I hear that.
So
that's cool.
Bam.
That's an awesome description, and thank you for laying it all out there.
Bam.
This next one we're going to take the lyrics super literally. It comes from the new Perfume Genius album. It's called Die For You. Oh. And this is definitely one of the darker, spacier tracks on the new record. Takes a little while to get going, but I think there's also like a bit of a subtle Portishead influence too on this track that I think you'll dig, because since we saw him live together, he's like totally like built out the instrumentation on his records. One of the few artists that their whole shtick, their whole gimmick, their whole style is, hey, let's play everything super minimal, super short, super skeletal, super stripped back. But as Mike has built out his songs instrumentally more and more, they've actually only gotten more interesting.
Yeah.
And this track is definitely an example of that for me. So yeah, that's my pick. That's my serious dark pick.
I like it.
I
sexy.
actually kind of got dark for my last few picks on this list.
It's funny how the songs have taken a slightly
darker turn. Taking a slightly darker turn.
Pick back up.
But yeah, I don't know how much I'd have to say about that track, other than that I felt like I just wanted to bring it into a more grave direction toward the back end of my list. There are other lovier songs on this record that are much that have a brighter sort of tone to them, but I figured I'd take it in this direction toward the back end of the list. So what did you do here with this tricky song, Your Name?
Are we gonna listen to it first, or
we'll listen to a little bit of it first?
Okay.
If you like me, I like you, and we like just the same.
Yeah, so yeah, this song for me is just like, it is wedding day, like all over it. Like,
it's really cute. And the changing your name part, it's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a cute song. But I love the melody, and I love Tricky's like whispery vocals like in the background, and yeah, I really like the atmosphere of that song. And
it's a very different song for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, and it's really different on that album too, like with the, you know, kind of with the surrounding tracks. It's like just this like breath of
yeah. No, it's like very different from his usual style, but it seems like he was doing almost everything he could to maintain his usual thing while sort of making it, you know, because you could tell with the kind of minimal but dusty, dirty kind of beats.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was kind of maintaining that whispery kind of quality, but he wanted that female voice on top, but singing kind of like a cheery sort of fashion.
And as the track goes on, like the whisper, you know, like the whisper vocal gets a little bit more like it's varying in intensity, but it is like it's definitely like restraint is being had.
Yeah, it's definitely a really unique song for him, and just like as far as love songs in general, because there's something undeniably cute about it, but simultaneously there's just something kind of weird and off-putting and kind of creepy about it, you know, maybe not intentionally, because the things that feel odd about it.
Hey, you married me.
I know, it's true. The things that are odd about it would probably only come off odd as people who haven't heard Tricky's music before, you know what I mean? But if you've heard his previous stuff, you know that that's kind of his thing, but sort of like totally out of context, like that's like a really creepy love song. But like knowing what I know about his music, it's like, oh, okay, that's really interesting that he would go this route, and how he's sort of made it work, you know, in a lot of ways in his usual style. I mean, maybe some people would disagree. I don't know how well blowback was received in comparison to a lot of his earlier 90s stuff.
I don't know.
This next one is an interesting pick. This will be fun. This is pretty much the only track I loved off of this album. I think you might have heard this before, but I think I did love the song when I first heard it. But I feel like in retrospect, and as I've gotten deeper into our relationship, I appreciate it even more. You guys know this one. You guys know this one.
Honey.
All them other niggas lame and you know it now. When the real nigga hold you down, you supposed to drown. Bam.
So yeah, I picked that. You know, I guess the reason I picked that song is that I feel like I just feel like it's a really good love song. And I think it's good just because the sentiment behind it is so strong. Of course, it's Kanye, so it's like it's done in a really like tacky, like completely unlikable, and you know, it's like just like he's almost like a heel in like a wrestling match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like the emotion behind it. You know, like the sense of
it's in earnest.
The sense of devotion there. You know, the fact that he's willing to admit how horrible he is. I guess he's, you know, admitting is the first step, just like he says.
Exactly.
You know, so it's interesting to also think about this song. If I can go into it, to think of this song about the being in the earlier stages, or at least he's thinking within the earlier stages of his relationship with Kim, and and just sort of like how this sort of, you know, progresses into a lot of the more intense emotions on the life of Pablo, which you now know that I love, and you looked at me like I was crazy the night that I came back and I listened to it. I was like, hey, this is really great.
Mostly because it was 3 a.m.
And you're like, you're crazy. You're tired. What's wrong with you? I was like, no, I swear this is really good now. I swear it's really good. Something happened. Something happened since the last time I heard it. It's really good now. But yeah, maybe mostly because it was 3 a.m. But yeah, it's like I like a lot of the elements of it where it's like when a real one holds you down, you're supposed to drown. I find that line very funny. It's sort of like I don't know, almost like if you're a real person, if you're somebody who's really going to be there, if you're somebody who's really devoted, almost to him, it's like it's like he attributes all of his flaws and everything that's horrible about him. Like it's the reason he's great is because of those things. And I feel like that's also the approach he takes to his relationship too. It's like, hey, all these horrible things, these are also the reasons why I'm such a great significant other too. Like when he's trying to convince people that he's a great artist, it's like, hey, I'm crazy. Name a genius that isn't crazy. I'm crazy. That means I'm a genius. So, I feel like that sometimes too, to a degree, where it's like maybe I'm just like way too much like into my own work, or maybe I'm just like taking things in our relationship way too seriously, and sometimes that's stuff that I feel like I have to come to terms with and curb, but simultaneously, sometimes I'm like,
don't worry, honey, you're not famous at our house.
So well, I'm sure Kanye's not famous at home either. I'm sure Kanye gets yelled at. I'm sure, but I wonder if he would ever rap about that though. I'm sure Kanye's gotten yelled at. I think every once in a while I'm like, yeah, all these things are why I'm so great though. Why I'm a great husband, because I'm always just like I never stop working. That makes me great. When it's like, no, it's not like that, but I could definitely get into that mindset sometimes where you think your flaws are your strengths, and I'm sure to a degree for everybody they are, but to me that's him like totally embodying that mindset and almost like taking it too far to the point where it's just hilarious. So we're on like the home stretch here. We got like
wow, we're almost done.
We're almost done. So thank you to everybody who's been listening so far to us prattling on about these songs and how much we like each other. But I know that's why you guys are here. You're all really lonely, and you're like, I want to know what love sounds like. I want to know what two people being infatuated with sounds like. I'm really a sad person. Either that or you're listening because you hate me. And
this is ammunition.
I'm sure there's going to be comments where it's like, I can't believe Anthony paid a woman to come on his podcast and pretend to be his wife who divorced him 5 years ago. I'm sure that's going to be a Reddit theory.
I know. I can't wait to lurk.
I can't wait to lurk. He really hired a voice actress and paid her $15,000 to learn to talk exactly like his wife, just to be on that podcast and fabricate elements of their relationship for over an hour.
I've seen more impressive mental gymnastics. So
yeah, some of the theories have been really impressive, like the theories about us breaking up and me becoming an MRA.
Yeah,
and everything.
Some were like really detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
almost like my meme channel was like a reason we got divorced. Like you might have seen my content on the meme channel and then decided I have to leave you.
Well, no,
you're reviewing memes.
Those theories started before the meme channel. So they kind of predate the meme channel.
I guess that's true.
But yeah, just curious how people can make up things. It's like complete, like just, it's fan fiction.
It really is fan fiction. It's Anthony Fantano fan
amazing.
Fiction. It's Anthony Fantano fan fiction.
Which is amazing. I enjoy it. Keep doing it.
This next song that you've picked here is from one Miss Pat Suzuki, How High the Moon. I'm not familiar with this artist, so I'm going to play the track and then you can inform me after.
Somewhere there's music.
All right. So this song's version of the song How High the Moon was originally recorded for the movie, I think it was Biloxi Blues. I think that's the name. And it was kind of like the title title sequence that the song was recorded for. And, there's been lots of versions of How High the Moon. It's kind of a relatively famous song. I really like this version of the song. It's very haunting and and I don't remember when this was originally recorded, but I feel like there's something about it that seems very ageless. It's definitely I feel like this arrangement is, while it's
I think I sort of get where you're coming from. It sounds like a piece of classy, dramatic vocal pop from the 50s or the 60s, but there's kind of a modern eeriness to it.
Yeah.
That you didn't always get in that kind of music.
I'd have to look. I don't remember exactly when this was recorded, but this is an older recording. But it definitely has just kind of the stripped down composition of the song, I think makes it feel a little bit more modern. Like you were saying, you are kind of expecting a bit more instrumentation and almost everything with the I'm really
we're burnt out. We're toward the very end of this thing. We're toward the very end of this thing.
But yeah. So it is. It's definitely it definitely has a modern feel to it. And I love it because I feel like the song is the melody is so haunting. I find myself humming this song all of the time. It's a song that is an earworm for me. And, and it's just, I think when I added the song to the list, I liked it because it's kind of a song that, when you're traveling or something, or, whenever one of us is working or whatever, and you're missing your significant other, it's just, it definitely has those vibes for me.
Okay. Well, this is going to be my last song, and then this next song is your last song. So this is each of our last tracks, which is funny because I feel like I'm toward the end of this and I'm so ready not to explain the song, but I feel like the song requires a lot of explaining. But it comes from one of my favorite rock bands of this decade, who go by the name of Ice Age. I pretty much loved every record they've put out so far this decade, and this is the title track, the closing track to their latest and my favorite record of theirs so far, called Plowing into the Field of Love. So here we go. We'll play this track, and I'll try to sort of work through what I feel are the themes coming out of this very ugly, messy, tangled, chaotic post-punk music. All right, it's obviously that song comes on a little strong. To me, that track says a lot with the way the instrumentation just sort of has this weird kind of feverish, just very unkempt, ragged kind of feel to it. The lyrics, which I know probably did not fully translate, and I feel like I'm kind of projecting onto the song just a little bit. I feel like the words are there, but I've read some of the inspirations for the song that may not necessarily be, what I'm putting onto the track. But given the title of the song, the title of the album, and some of the lyrics, I don't see how I could kind of read it anywhere else. But the way it's kind of framed is this guy is portraying himself as kind of being in a mansion and being sort of above kind of these unwashed refugee types and these sort of lonely studs who are out there in the world just aimlessly wandering, and he's in that position because he's sort of put in the work and sort of plowed into the field of love. And so because he sort of put in that work, now he sort of has that status. He's at that point where he's sort of like above all of that, and he's sort of like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like because I'm with you, I've been with you for so long, and we have we put the work into our relationship.
Yeah.
There's like so much less chaos in the world in a way. I mean, it's still chaotic. Everything is still crazy.
The chaos
to a
is
degree.
in perspective.
Yeah, but it's like it's honestly, I feel like we're probably in a better place now than where we used to be in terms of like
sure.
our relationship, our jobs, and everything, and just
we're very. I feel like we're very lucky. Like the stars aligned just right, and like. The stars aligned, and things are as good as one can ask things to be.
Definitely. So I feel like that very rugged, very rough sort of sound, which is just Ice Age's thing. I feel like even they can sort of communicate something kind of poetic,
for sure.
through that, which I feel like there are a lot of people that don't quite get even my love for this band too, but that's probably one of the reasons why I feel like some very interesting things sort of come out of the tangle of what they do. And that track, and hopefully again I'm not projecting too much onto it, that's one of the more interesting sort of takes I've heard somebody sort of talk about love in a track before.
Well, I think it's okay to project upon a song.
Sure. But it's like it's funny, he almost sort of like portrays it as like literally like a hard back-breaking work, like farming.
It is, and honestly, if you want my opinion, I think people don't put that much emphasis on relationships in terms of the work that you have to put into it, because it is work. I think, when you start a relationship, you're starting the relationship based on, these really primitive things, right? Like the way that person looks, like your ability to have surface level conversation with them and connection with them. But the real relationship starts once all that stuff gets boring and you are having to deal with the outside world, like we talked about earlier, having to deal with, just learning that person, the good and the bad of that person. And it's really easy to give up.
Sure.
It's the easiest thing you can do. It is tough and hard work to continue to fight for something that you know that is right, So I think that weathered voice is appropriate tone.
Sure. No, absolutely. I agree, and that's what I like about it. All right, we're gonna get into the last track. You're closing up shop over here.
Yes.
With this Feist song. Which song did you pick? Is this like off the deluxe version of? Is this like an extra track? Or
this was on the this is an extra. It's an extra on the deluxe version of The Reminder.
Okay. All right. We're gonna play this track. Islands. Oh, Islands in the Stream. Oh, that's so cute. I didn't even know she did a cover of that. Yeah. That's so cute. Oh, that's a cute ending song. Yeah. All right, let's play a little bit of that, and then you can talk a bit about it, and we'll end this thing.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sailing with me.
I'm holding her hand, guys. I made a move on her.
That was smooth.
I thought it was an opportune time. I made my move, guys. Held her hand.
Yes, just as I'm yawning.
I might make it to first base later. I'm telling you. It's so funny. When I was a kid, I didn't even know Ghetto Superstar took its melody from anything. I was just like,
really?
Okay. I had no idea when I was a kid. I didn't even know. I just thought that was a totally original song. I had no idea.
Aww.
Wasn't that originally a Bee Gees track?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Bee Gees could write a song. People don't get it.
Wait.
Pretty sure it was a Bee Gees song originally. Then there was a country cover later.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Country cover came later.
The Dolly Parton.
And then after that, you kind of got more country covers.
Yeah.
Then almost like it kind of got a reputation for being a country song because it was not one of the Bee Gees' bigger tracks.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I don't think that's what people really went to the Bee Gees to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, I love this cover with the Constantines, and I think like all 10 of my songs could have been a Feist song. I held a lot of restraint in picking my songs because, I mean, duh.
You got to pick different artists, or else it's just going to be a shit show. You know, unless you come to me beforehand with that concept and you're like, I have this idea, all Feist. And you haven't even heard her new album yet.
I have heard a little bit of it.
You heard a little bit of it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've started it. I've like not been able to kind of finish it, but I have started.
Got it. But yeah, it was originally a Bee Gees song.
Yeah, with that
Bee Gees.
The more you know. But yeah, I think that's a really beautiful cover. I think probably anybody who sees us together or friends of ours,
they think of that song,
who've talked about us, or make comment about our relationship. We're kind of two peas in a pod. And
just two islands in a stream of internet comments theorizing on our eventual divorce.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, this has been great. This has been fun.
We should probably, the next time we do this, maybe start it a little bit early.
A little earlier. It's late for us. It's
very late.
Whatever time it is for you.
Yeah.
Or actually just keep it to 5 tracks.
Yeah.
I feel like...
You know, I was really intimidated by the 10 tracks.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know what you're thinking either. But I feel sad because I feel like I don't think I gave or did my tracks justice because I pooped out at the end.
I kind of pooped out too. So it's all right.
But they're all awesome songs.
I think everybody listening right now is probably pooping out around this point.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
So you don't want a family vlog.
Exactly. You don't want a family vlog because 5 minutes into it, we're just going to be like this.
I need a nap.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the return of my lovely significant other coming on here.
Thanks for caring.
Yeah, thanks for caring, if you want to put it that way. Caring, obsessing. This is totally this is the perfect distance.
Friends.
We're friends. With a distance.
On the internet.
We're friends through this podcast. This is the perfect. You guys look beautiful from this distance. Anyway, this podcast is also available on iTunes, just like previous episodes, if you forgot, because it's been a while since we've had an episode. And I hope you enjoyed this playlist. Remember, it's also linked down there in the description box, so you can listen to all these tracks. And we love you, we love you, we love you. I'm sure on the screen right now, there's some kind of link to another podcast episode or a link to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next podcast if there ever is one. So, forever.